This is the NBA Storyteller.
Within all the majesty and mystery that life has brought us, from the awesome wonder of the universe to the endless adventures down here on Earth, there is so much to be captivated by, and so much to impress us. But I am not impressed by this clip.
Why is Matt Barnes doing that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless he thinks he can entice Kobe Bryant to get thrown out.
I don't know, man. I'm actually kind of terrified. This is more weird than anything to me. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, okay, a ball is coming at you just inches from your face. Ball face. And we as modern humans are impressed that he didn't try to get away or get out of the way? There are only 4 reasons why this would happen. 1, I guess he thinks deep down in his core and every fiber of his being that Matt Barnes is a punk and he'd never actually follow through with any of this nonsense. And the extension of that is that in this moment, he doesn't think Matt's gonna do anything, and he feels that there's some sort of protective barrier between him and Matt's intentions. But I feel like this can't be right, because Kobe's a smart dude. At least that's what we're led to believe. And we know Matt is about his shit, right? Right? Right?
Nah.
Let's look at his resume.
3-point line.
Would you rather fight Derek Fisher or Kaepernick in like a charity? Both of them?
It even seems like Matt's kind of trying to prove something with his toughness on the court.
People think that what I do is an act, or you're fake, or you're this, or you're that, or you're not black, you're this, you're that, and I just really want to show people I've seen everything that you would think that, that every other person that came from the streets has seen.
But even so, even if he is real, even if he is all about his shit on the court, Kobe doesn't have to believe it. Kobe doesn't have to believe it. See, one more thing about Kobe's toughness. I really feel like this is a mind over matter scenario. I'm a tough guy. And perception becoming his reality. See, a lot of times we assess the tough NBA player as ones that also had a tough upbringing, right? We generally like an authentic toughness. All those top 10 dark alley teams, all that crap, they're full of actual tough guys. I don't know. I mean, if you start digging into people's past, starting with folks like our good buddy DeMarcus Cousins, a known loose cannon, right? We already explored that. He had a pretty focused childhood. If he faced any adversity, it was because he focused too much on basketball, and that he sacrificed much of his normal life for basketball. But learning the hard way in the streets is not an actual part of his story. How about this tough guy, Kendrick Perkins, right? And yeah, he's done some tough shit on the court, I guess. But did you know he was literally an altar boy? When he joined the Thunder, which is a kind of a weird particular culture, they went way out of their way to make sure folks knew he was not that mean guy that he played on TV, that folks knew he was a nice guy. Look at this article. Born in Texas, practicing Roman Catholic, quiet and humble. And yes, this might be as much of a spin as anything, being that it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let me tell you an interesting thing I heard about the Oklahoma City Thunder. When I lived in Kansas City, I had a buddy I worked with, and he knew a dude who edited the pre-game highlight reel they'd play in the arena before Thunder games. And you know what he said? They weren't allowed to put any dunks in the highlight reels because apparently dunks looked self-indulgent and it wasn't about the team. So if there's anybody in Oklahoma City who can confirm this or refute this, I'd love to know. But I mean, I don't not believe it. It was just kind of a fact. The man told me those were the rules that his friend had to follow, and we were all editors. So he had to chop out all the dunks. He said if you ever watched it, there'd be a lot of passes, a lot of rebounds, that kind of stuff. That would be in the highlight reels. And we're talking about the in-arena stuff. So that's kind of the odd culture. So who knows? Maybe it was a lot of spin with Kendrick Perkins. I don't know. What do we really know? But if you just read the stuff that's on the internet, at least, you can kind of see this well-rounded upbringing, or this wholesome, God, I need another word for wholesome, upbringing. I mean, he did hit some guys after a bout of road rage once in 2003, but that's into his career. He already adopted this character. But this is not to say that there's not tough guys with tough lives, but the ones that play the roles on the court, the enforcer role, a lot of times it's just a role. It's a chosen role. And we as fans can be skeptical of the package we're handed if we want to, and sometimes we can look a little further for the truth. Again, remember, this is literally a stage. They sell tickets to the show. There's stage lighting. People play into their roles. And yes, one day we'll get to the KG video. But seriously, I get that you can be who you want to be on the court. I mean, when I'm on the court, I talk a ton of shit. I guess off the court, I talk some shit too. Again, with these dark alley teams, I always wonder how many of these people would really be useful in a dark alley because they had the local police on speed dial. But before I continue on about other people's toughness, how about I check out my own in my controlled, scientific environment? See, watch. Because here's one thing that's always been a bit too available, meaning it really exposes the layers of characters here. After a hard-fought game between the rival Warriors and Clippers, known heel Jermaine O'Neal was so fired up that after the game he went to confront Blake Griffin backstage, or wherever. Backstage works fine. And in what I assume was a very dry, monotone delivery, Blake Griffin responded in this confrontation by saying, "Jermaine, just leave that shit on the court." And it was that interaction that told me everything I needed to know about Blake. A man who came into the league with a dual purpose: dunk and get famous enough to show his truly charismatic side on TV selling us some Kias, which is going to set up his long, fruitful career past basketball. Seriously guys, if you don't like Blake, then get ready to not like him for a long time. He ain't going nowhere.
Honestly, I'm a gracious guy.
Okay, but after seasons of being called soft and not tough enough and actually getting physically pushed around and quote-unquote bullied, folks wondered if he had what it took to hang in this league.
The book on Blake Griffin, to use your word, punk him.
I mean, how many times do you hear one of these talking flesh bots say, he just needs to fight back once, or tag somebody once, just to establish his toughness?
He should have that kind of attitude. A matter of fact, I think it's something he should exhibit on the court.
Doc will find it and unleash it.
Ugh. Yeah, show us your character, right? They said it so much, I feel like they even convinced him to do it. But Blake never really wanted to, because he came into the league with the biggest I'm over it attitude I've ever seen.
It's not something that I dwell on. I've never really had a problem with being soft.
He wanted zero part of the multi-layered character development. He thought the person he was a character enough. And I know that because even in his TV star turn, he always just plays himself.
What's up, Bill?
I'll tell you what's not amazing.
The 2012 Kia Optima
It has a library of over 8,000 video games.
He has no range to be another guy, but luckily enough, people find him funny and friendly and non-threatening enough to sell them everything. Okay, but the casual brush off of Jermaine O'Neal was the glimpse that I needed. It's the sign that some of these guys just don't want the act, which is a bit of a blessing and a curse, because if we know anything about success in this league, it usually requires buying into a narrative. I mean, have we ever had a nonchalant, over-it MVP, or a championship team led by a, oh, just leave it on the court type guy? No, the ones who succeed buy all the way in, and either completely dive into an alternate on-court persona that helps them murder and pillage the league, or they're absolutely the ones who go into full-time character mode and take everything personal. The type that believe in the bulletin board motivation theory.
People gonna think you crazy, people ain't gonna understand you. Weird, what's wrong with you?
You look for any kind of messages that people may say or do to get you motivated to play the game of basketball at the highest level.
What did you say Clay said?
Clay said, I guess he just got his feelings hurt.
Oh my goodness.
They take that stuff on the court, off the court. You know what I mean? And don't even try to tell me the Spurs are not a character-driven team.
I'm so tired of this.
Cool it, old man. They are the worst. They were the most bought-in, method-acting group of characters the league has ever seen. Since, I don't know, the 2019 Celtics. Listen, those guys are brainwashing themselves towards actual success. This is kind of like full-blown hypnotism. It's the culture people talk about that really creates success. And to go all the way macro, it's the same reason that, until now, America has been seen as the leader and the greatest country in the world. It's the same reason paper money has any value. it's because the folks involved all believe it so damn much that it actually comes true. And this isn't some sort of manifesting secret type of stuff. It's the mind leading the body stuff. Because of course you have to have the physical ability and the physical opportunity to win basketball games. But if you are not bought all the way into some narrative, then how can you get through each day with the same energy and focus and arrogance you need to think you're the best damn team in the whole goddamn world? Or even just believe that you're the best player in the world? There's something that's gotta be out of touch and above you that you are attaching yourself to and believe to keep pulling you through each monotonous day of practice. And because I can't talk about anything without bringing up Steph and the option. When Mark Jackson flat out said they were the best shooting backcourt of all time, that was the moment Steph and Clay became champions. And since that purpose was served, it was also time for Mark to go.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
Side note, it'll always be funny that he literally wore all black to his last coached game. The man dressed up for his own funeral. This is the reason it was so damn funny when the Houston Rockets tried to ambush the Clippers in their version of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Because we didn't buy that any of those players are really about any of that extracurricular shit. There was nothing to be afraid of here. There was no people that were bought fully into the off-court character that we believed that this off-court behavior was going to escalate into something. It was just a show.
These two, man. Come on, man. Nobody laughing. Come on, man. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Chuck. I don't know. Police. Hello, police. Chris Paul trying to beat me up. This is Blake Griffin. Chris Paul trying to get in the locker room. Get down here and save me.
And that brings us back to Kobe. Kobe was raised in a privileged, worldly, elite environment. He's Steph Curry if Steph Curry had a summer job at the Louvre. And early on, he dealt with that framing, not being tough. Somewhere along the way, in his transition to the Mamba, I guess, or Jordan Jr., he adopted this tough guy. And you know what? We believed it. They believed it. And he believed it. That's all to say, there's a good chance he really doesn't respect Matt's toughness. And we'll get to this. Kobe may have had some serious psychological strength, or maybe he was just extremely suggestible. Maybe certain people were planting these characteristics into his mind, and as a result of winning, the perception got crusted over and solidified. We will get to that. All right, next. Number 2, maybe Kobe just has poor reaction time, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because when the ball is inbounded, he's playing great defense. He's on the ball. Kobe's not known for being slow. Or actually, you know what's interesting about basketball? And another little personal story? What's interesting about this play is that it's all about the ball. And at least when I played basketball years ago, coaches used to teach you not to follow the ball when you're playing man-to-man defense. You don't follow the pump fakes, you don't fall for the head fakes or the jab series. You look at the torso area. If you look at the torso, you're gonna stay on your man because there's no torso fake. Is there a torso fake? You don't fall for all the little stuff if you're focused on the man, the actual where the human body is. So I don't know, maybe Kobe was locked into that. I don't know. So are we concluding that maybe the higher trained athlete is somebody who is capable of implementing a slower reaction time? Or maybe the reaction or flinch reflex is overcome? I mean, I watch a good defender play defense on James Harden, and I'm sitting here losing my shit because Kevin Looney is staying in front of him, not falling for his tricks. But in reality, the way he does that is he's just tuning out all the sensory receptors and staying focused on something else. So when you go back to this Kobe situation, maybe it's not that amazing. Maybe if you put any top tier NBA player in this position, the same exact thing would happen. I mean, you just watch amateur players playing defense on a dude like the professor, reacting overtime. He gets his little Jimmy arm going, right? By the way, this little Jimmy arm here is basically every crossover in the 90s. It's that arm right there, look at that. For real. Anyway, maybe that's part of it too. I mean, do you really think Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson or Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard is gonna lose their shit with this ball coming at them? Do you think they're gonna fall down? Like, what do you think their natural reaction would be with the ball coming towards them? Get out of the way. Kobe was just the one that was tested. But this has never really happened before. It reminds me of football. There isn't a single play that doesn't involve some smidgen of Flinch-Gate. The hard count. It's built in to get people flinching and react unnecessarily or naturally, but it really rarely happens. These guys line up for, 100 damn plays a game, and maybe 4 guys actually jump off sides. And that's usually because they are trying to jump the count and predict the snap, not because they were tricked. Okay, honestly, this may be the most unremarkable highlight in pro sports, and that's not even mentioning theory number 3. This take. He did flinch. And this is when we addressed the conversation of October 2nd, 2018. Way back when somebody pulled the trigger on the video I worked on for weeks, just a tad early. So let's go. Let's go to the controversial angle, the overhead shot. A shot that me, personally, until a few weeks ago, I'd never run across. I mean, have you? Would people be making such a big deal about it right now if they had seen this? Had you ever seen this angle? And again, a quick editorial here. After weeks of working on this video, just somehow miraculously in the zeitgeist, this clip surfaces on Twitter and folks got a taste of where I wanted to take them. But with further analysis, it still seems like folks are missing the real revelation here, the real conclusion. It's not that Matt Barnes didn't fake it directly at his face. It's that Kobe does have stellar reaction time, and he, by definition, did flinch. And one more personal note here, an effort towards truth and justice. Folks are ripping the shit out of this clip, and we don't know who the hero is. Well, I'm gonna introduce you to the hero. This is your hero. Not Trey, not Woes, none of these guys. This, Jason O'Neal, is the hero who grabbed this clip back in goddamn 2010, damn it, way before his time. He saw this shit live on TV and recorded it and allowed us to see this bird's eye view. And folks are ripping this man off. And for that, let me tell everybody who has, quit stealing his shit. And now every network with their extensive libraries finally digs up this shot that's been essentially hidden for the past 10 years. And seriously, no matter which way you look at it, this angle does not help. Because at least it shows the fake wasn't really in his face. And again, it shows Kobe flinching, but flinching effectively. The facts are that Kobe Bryant was swaying left to right in a very hypnotic fashion. And when Matt Barnes ball faked, Kobe Bryant increased his acceleration to the left, which in a very basic manner could be described as a flinch. But the question is, should we? But it's not about facts, it's about the legend. And the legend grew immediately. Immediately after the game, the process began. And this is my insight. Roll Kobe's interview.
That's it.
Huh? You didn't Why should I?
He is immediately buying into the narrative. We don't know what he remembers. We don't know how he would have described that moment. But they fed him a question, and he, like a very in-tune character, went right along with it. Why burst these people's bubble? And now, freaking 40 years later, it's not even a question. And both participants are fully invested.
For some reason, I guess my arms had a thing of their own and just like faked it. You know what I mean? So once everything happened and I saw the film and saw that it came like within eyelashes of him and he didn't flinch, I'm like, that's a cold boy right there, boy.
But just look, people. His rock back and forth is temporarily accelerated when the ball's coming towards him. This is a reaction. A reaction that can be described as natural, which in some respects is called flinch. Kobe flinched. But that doesn't make it worthless. Like the whole paper money thing that has no intrinsic value. See, what I think is gonna happen is that this moment of exposing this clip, calling it something other than one of the greatest NBA moments and an example of Mamba mentality, it'll all pass. Because whether this actual 0.4 seconds is what we thought it was, it doesn't matter. Because it's still a vessel for all of our beliefs and feelings about Kobe. Kobe is no longer a player, Kobe is a legend. And this clip is shorthand for Kobe, for Mamba mentality. Now, if you don't believe in Mamba mentality, that's a whole other hill. But you can show this clip to a complete basketball novice and catch them up on who the character Kobe Bryant is. See, its value isn't even in the moment. Its value is in what it represents. And once something has more value than its actual material worth, then it really does become worth way more than it ever should. It's the beauty of error. It's the human uncertainty combined with the finality of wins and losses that makes these moments where two things seem to be true all at once shimmer and stick in our minds. Was it a charge? Was it a block? Was it a block? Was it a goaltend? Was it a strike? Was it a ball? Oh, he broke his ankles. No, he just pushed him and tripped him. Traits and tendencies that in real life make dialogue toxic. The idea that truth is in the eye of the observer and alternate facts. The worst stuff in humanity is really what makes sports so damn lovable. Because if we collectively want to, we can take something not true and make it so. We can even put the whole damn genie back in the bottle if we want to. Let's explore the final theory. And this theory is beyond just this flinch. This theory covers Kobe and his general approach and demeanor towards the game, and some of his characteristics in the second half of his career. Which leads us to number 4. Finally, maybe he didn't notice. And while that may sound like the least interesting of the options, just saying he's zoned out or deep in thought, basically an unresponsive droid to outside stimuli until I guess when the ball is inbounded, or the ref's whistle, I guess. Yes, this may sound the least interesting, but as you will see, it's actually the most interesting. Okay, first thing to acknowledge is that Matt Barnes is not looking at Kobe. He's not telegraphing this at all. This adds an even higher level of complexity to this happening, because it's not a bullshit fake. It's not a half fake or a hedged fake. It's inches from his face at full freaking velocity. At the ball's peak velocity, it's going 97 kilometers per... just kidding. I didn't calculate that. But back to the fake. It's almost one of those, where you actually toss the ball ahead, but then you catch it. It's almost one of those kind of fakes, which are harder to process as a fake. So putting this in perspective, Matt Barnes was in control here. And if he was feeling a little bit more presumptuous with the moment and the ball, maybe more careless, then he actually would have bounced this ball right off of Kobe's bean head. You know what that looks like?
Off with 4 on the shot clock, and it's not going to happen. His teammate will hit it and score the wrong guy.
Jason Richardson had a flashback on this one. This is a playground flashback. Bounces right off the head, gives him a jumper shoot. Kevin would say, right between the eyes.
God, that was embarrassing. Not flinching when a ball bounces off your dumb, shiny forehead makes you look ridiculous. That's what it looks like. This, and this, this. And I sure the don't see anyone commenting about how badass they are for just standing there and taking the ball to the base. These folks just look stupid. So as a baseline, standing there and taking it is a dumb move. Taking a ball to the face is not. And taking it a step further, I don't know why Matt, the one-time champ, let's give him credit, why he didn't actually just bean him in the head. I mean, he knows it's coming, right? So it would have been out on Kobe. He just had to get out of the way real quick. And it's not the first time somebody's done something like that.
As he plays some defense on Shaq, who throws it out of bounds off the face, I think.
Folks love tagging other players with the ball. Most of the time it's when they're falling out of bounds. They get the opportunity and they just drill it at them.
Serge thought he had it, and then right there.
What's funny is when you always see the play materializing and people start to turn and adjust, getting ready to try and catch the ball or get away from the ball and cover up their stuff. It's like in soccer when you see the whole team lining up for that free kick and they're all standing there protecting the family jewels. But then there's the other option for when you're falling out of bounds, which is calling a timeout. There's those two choices. Call the timeout or bounce it off the opposing player. That's an easy one. And what's interesting, players have gotten better and are more prepared when somebody is about to throw the ball off of them. You see people catching it, you see people getting out of the way. You don't see it that often these days, except when somebody's like turned around, right? That's one of the top 10 most embarrassing things that could happen to you.
Bring on some screens. Oh, Phillips bounced it off the back, and he banks it in.
This video is basically about embarrassment. When you're turned around and somebody throws it off of your back, you really look like you got used. See, I don't know where it all started, but it was on the And One mixtape videos, and then folks started doing it in school, and I remember that. And again, when you talk about throwing the ball at another player, one of the worst things that can happen is the dodgeball situation where the person actually catches the ball. You had the upper hand, you had the projectile, and the other person just reached into the air and grabbed it. This is my favorite clip of that happening, right here. It has nothing to do with basketball.
Someone throws a chair and the security guy catches it in midair.
But that is a badass move. And this particular gentleman here owns the moment. So back to theory 4, zoned out Kobe. The idea he's so focused that he's not even physically able to see what's happening until, I don't know, a lady in red walks by. If this is a thing, then there's no way it can be an isolated incident, because we're basically saying that intense, big, important moments He goes into a space in his mind that basically prevents input until a trigger or something specific snaps him out of it. But if that's the case, it has to have happened before or other times. But it hasn't. Or has it?
You take a look, Chris Rock sitting right next to Kobe Bryant, shooting the breeze, funniest man in the world, telling jokes, and take a look at Kobe Bryant. I don't even hear you. I'm on a mission. And I'm not knocking everybody else, because if I was Kobe Bryant sitting there, I would have said something to Chris Rock. Matter of fact, coaches, players, everybody would have said something. This guy is a different breed. He's on a mission, and that's why he is challenging the all-time greats.
Okay, I think we might have to jump into this. I think we can cross some lines here and talk about what I really think about this clip. Because all those other options aside, this was just a ploy to inch your reasonable minds to the idea that may have seemed unreasonable to you just a few moments ago. It's an idea that some of you may not be ready for.